For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jake. I have been obsessed with cars my whole life, but I'm new to the detailing world. I'm on a mission to learn all things detailing, and today I am polishing a car for the very first time, but not just any car, polishing my own car. Todd's gonna show me the ropes, teach me everything I need to know, and you can come along and learn with me. So let's get to it. We're in the detail studio, getting ready to do some polishing, and I've got this guy who might be able to help me a little bit. I'm new to the channel. You guys probably know who this is. Todd Cooperrider, founder of ESOTERIC. I think you might know a thing or two about polishing.
Yeah, I've done a car or two over the years. Started this 16 years ago, been doing it forever, still work on cars myself. Started the Elite Detailer Academy in 2012, and since then we've trained paint correction, probably 500 students from a dozen countries around the world, plus done training and consulting at OEM car manufacturers. So yeah, I think I'm qualified enough to teach you, Jake. I think we can get you up and running.
I feel like I'm in good hands.
Yeah.
All right, we've done a little test section on this guy. This is my 2019 Golf R. It's got 137-ish thousand miles on it. She's had a rough life, both for myself and the previous owner. Never had any serious correction or anything done that I know of. What are we looking at?
Well, first thing I noticed is the automatic car wash sticker in the windshield. And when I see a car like that, you know, come in with one of those stickers, I know that it's had a little bit of a rough life to it. Yeah, it's got a lot of miles on it. Not as bad as I've seen. You know, this has got a little bit of everything from your basic swirls, light scratching. There's some water etching in there. You know, some other stuff that's just sat on the surface over time, and it's just kind of dulled the finish. So even if we go in here and you know, if we do a one-step polish, which most people are going to be starting with, you're just learning out there. You don't want to jump into heavy correction. You want to learn how to polish the car first before trying to go any great levels. But even with that, we're going to make a big difference with the finish on this car, just to bring out the color and bring out some gloss in it.
This morning, I've already done, previous to here, I did our ESOTERIC iron remover, which gets all the iron out of the paint, and then I did a thorough wash, and then I clayed the car as well. So it should be ready to go as far as my understanding is.
Yeah. And then for those of you out there, when we talk about clay is an important step to get the surface ready, get any of the deposits and stuff off of it. But here's a big thing that most channels won't tell you. Never, ever, ever clay unless you're going to be doing machine polishing afterwards, because the claying process does mar up the finish. So you'll have a little bit more scratched up surface afterwards, but everything is off of it. Very important safety tip there relative to clay. Okay, now we're ready to go. I want to take you through the steps of doing a one-step polish. And this is where so many people kind of get addicted. They might see some pictures of 50-50 before and after and go, holy crap, I had no idea that you can do that with paint. You know, I was that way. So many other people, you know, watching the channel, same thing. Then once you kind of learn how to do it, you get over that you know, you're kind of scared of putting a polisher on the paint. Once you get over that, you follow that rabbit down the hole. It's amazing the feeling that you get of knowing you did that yourself. And you want to do more, and you want to learn more. You want to work on more cars. You know, that's how I ended up just playing around with my own cars to, you know, all these years later having ESOTERIC here. It started off just following the rabbit down the hole. You know, learning a bunch about it, trying it out. And once you get that feel with the machine, it's amazing what you can do with it. But you have to get the steps right. You know, you'll hear people talk about when it's paint polishing, they'll say, oh, it's all in the technique, or oh, it's on the product and the tools. No, it's both. You need to have the right tools and pads and polishes, but you need to have the right technique. If your technique is missing, you're going to lose out on so much cut and finish. So, you know, once we've got the surface prepped and everything, and we'll get into taping and stuff later, but for right now, I just want to work on the mechanics of it. So, you know, we've got our Rupes LHR 15 here. You know, this is a professional grade machine, but is great to use for, you know, anybody at home. I've got the Rupes yellow pads. This is their kind of general purpose polishing pad. So it's not for heavy compounding. It can be for finishing, but you know, most of the time you're doing like a one step like we're going to do on this. The yellow pad is what you're going to go with.
Okay.
And then for our polish Sonax Perfect Finish, It's a great all-around polish. It could be finishing polish, or it could be a one-step.
Okay.
So one of the things I want to talk about first is, well, first thing, make sure you keep the cord over your shoulder.
You don't want to drag that all over the paint.
Banging it up against it. But one thing that we want to do is, we want to kind of stand square to the surface we're working on. In our working area, we want to keep it within shoulder distance.
Okay.
You're never going way down here, way over here. Keep everything right in front of you.
Is that about weight? You're kind of getting off in a weird
angle?
Yeah.
Because what happens once you start getting off in a weird angle, you have a tendency to lift the pad one way or another.
Okay.
Keeping that pad flat is one of the absolute most important things that you're looking at. Because even if I'm just tilted a little bit, that could be 40-50% difference in the kind of cut and finish that I get.
Okay.
So you want to keep that pad as flat as you possibly can. Now, granted, you get up into these areas, there's other challenges. We'll dive deeper into that later. Let's go over some of the basic mechanics.
Okay.
So when we're doing it, we want to put a decent amount of pressure on something like this. Like if you were to take this and put it on some shipping scales, you're probably going to be 14, 15, 16 pounds of pressure. That includes the weight of the machine, which is almost 5 pounds. So you're going to get a little pressure. You're going to see a little squish in the pad. You don't want to be way down here like this. It'll stop spinning. And you also don't want it just, freely going across the surface. We want pad flat, constant pressure, keep it within a shoulder distance. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a square pattern. And it's going to be left to right, come back down this way, come back down this way. And each pass, as you'll see when I do a demo, it overlaps 50%. So we're going to do 2 sets left and right, 2 sets up and down, alternating. So left, right, up, down, left, right, up, down. And that is going to be the working cycle for the polish. The polish, there's abrasives in the polish, and they break down through that process. So if you do it too quickly, your finish isn't going to be good. Your cut isn't going to be good. If you go way too long, it's going to overwork it, and you're going to mar the finish. So with the working area, the amount of polish that we're using, the pressure we're using, that 2 sets left, right, 2 sets up, down is going to be our working area.
Okay.
What I'll do now is we will put this on just so everybody can see. We're going to be, let's just call it 3 pea-sized drops of product that you're going to put on here. And what I'm going to do at first is I'm just going to spread it around a little bit. I don't have to paint this pretty picture. That's just to keep it from flinging all over your nice brand new red esoteric shirt.
Little DLS singer. You can get this shirt, esotericcarcare.com.
Absolutely. So like I said, I worked it around. I got the machine speed on 4.5.
Okay.
It goes all the way up to 6. You never want to use 6.
Okay.
4.5 is kind of your happy spot, no matter what you're doing.
Got it.
What I want you to do is I want you to watch my pad flatness. I want you to watch my overlap as I'm making my transitions. I want you to watch my arm speed. And I also want you to watch my working size. A lot of people, they start here. By the time they're done, they get way big out here. You want to keep that working area the same all the time.
Okay.
Okay. And now I'm going to my second set, left, right. And then my second set up, down. So finish this. And I don't know if you noticed there at the end, when I knew that I had my last stroke up, I clicked on it because it's got the I call it the cruise control here.
Okay, all right.
I clicked on it to release the cruise control because I have one pass to go. And then at the end, I kind of let off the throttle and feathered it off the surface.
You never want to just stop.
You don't want to pick it up off of the surface with it, full speed, because if the Velcro starts getting bad here, you're going to send a pad flying.
Okay.
I don't want to just let it stop on the surface. So as I come up, I just let off, kind of feather it off the surface nicely.
Okay.
So you notice my working area stayed the same.
Yep.
The whole time. about this a big right here. You should have noticed each time I come down, it was a 50% overlap into the next section. Pad stayed flat. Nice, slow, steady arm movement. You know, you see videos of people and they're polishing over here. Like, they're not polishing, they're just spreading product around on the car. And just a nice controlled motion. So now I'm going to go in here, and here's another thing when it comes to wiping off polish. I don't want to see this. You don't want to do this. It's because, like, if you're using sandpaper, you always have some kind of interface pad or whatever, because you don't want the heavy pressure points. Same thing. Take my towel, keep it folded in force, and then where you have all of the loose ends, I kind of tuck that in my thumb. And then when I'm wiping it off, you know, I just kind of go straight back and forth. And during the polish removal process, keeping it going one direction is best, because if I'm wiping all over and I look down into the surface and I still see some stuff in there, was it stuff that I missed, or did I have something in my towel and I scratch it up?
Okay.
If you have a problem with your towel and you're wiping in straight lines, once you look at it, you'll know if it's a towel issue if you have straight lines in there.
Got it.
So, you know, as I look at this, you know, it definitely looks a lot better than it did. This is harder paint. Volkswagens typically have very hard paint. And the nice thing about hard paints like this is they don't scratch as easily, they don't mar as easily. But the bad thing is, when it comes time to polish them, it takes a lot more effort to get it. If I was to compare this to a Honda, for instance, Honda's Japanese cars are usually softer paint. They scratch up easier, but it's so much easier to fix them. You can go in and do a one-step with a lot of the Japanese paints, and you can get 60, 70, 80% correction from just a one-step.
Okay.
Whereas with something like Volkswagen, you typically only get maybe 50% correction out of a one-step process. So yeah, I mean, I look at it, and you know, over here, it's kind of hard to see with the metallic, you know, but you still have some scratches and swirls and some marring from the clay. But, you know, I get up here in this area that we just did. It's got a lot more clarity to it. You know, my eye is going to pick it up much better than what the camera does. But, you know, the other thing is just the general clarity. Once we go in and do this over the entire hood, that hood is going to almost glow by comparison. It's got 137,000 miles on it, or so you said. That's a lot of time just, you know, the paint finish getting a little bit beat up. So, Jake.
Yes.
Do you have any questions based on what I just did? Are you ready to accept the challenge of trying to replicate what I did?
I think so, yeah.
Remember, keep shoulder width.
Yep. Shoulder width.
Yep.
We're going to do 2 left rights and up downs.
2 up downs, yep.
We want to feather off cruise control.
Yep. 50% overlap as you come down.
Yep.
Keep that pad flat.
Okay. And like 10-ish additional pound, or 15 total pounds of pressure.
Yep.
4.5 speed.
Yep.
All right.
And you can do the spot if you want to go right over where I just did, or you want to pick another spot.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm not worried about correction rate you're getting at this point. I'm just watching mechanics.
Can I even begin to? Am I worthy of teaching from this point forward?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we got to figure out.
I'm going to know, do we have a series of 12 videos coming up, or is this just 2 videos? This all depends on how you do right
I'm shooting for 2. Shooting for 2 videos.
Shoot for 2.
All right,
okay.
All right. Let's set up. Okay, and I want to do 3 Ps.
3 pea-sized drops.
Okay. This is literally the very first time I've ever polished anything, other than trying to do headlights, but that was...
Yeah.
Those are some big...
It's a little bit heavy,
all right,
on it, but that's fine.
All right, so you were here. I'm going to go a little bit lower.
Okay.
And then I want to smear it around a little bit, right?
Yep. Make sure to put the cord up over your shoulder.
Cord. All right, man. Okay. There we go. We want to smear it around just so we're not making a mess. We don't have to paint the picture.
Yep.
And then I'm starting...
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Always make sure it's down on the surface first before you hit that trigger. Right. Yep. And just keep it away from that curvature. We'll get to that later. Good, you're overlapping nicely.
I think I have one more up, down.
Yep. Very good.
All right.
Now having watched over 500 students all those years, many of them who had never had a polisher in their hand before, you can imagine I've seen some pretty wild stuff.
I'm going to say too, I'm kind of cheating because I've been around. I've been watching.
Yeah, you've been watching and stuff. So you've been soaking a little bit of it in. But that was good. Two things. Your arm speed was still a little quick.
Okay.
I'd slow down the process a little bit, and part of it, we're kind of at an odd angle just to work with the camera here, but just try to keep this a nice even square. You kind of went trapezoidal.
Yep.
Because think of it this way: when we're doing all of this is a puzzle, and you have to in your head work out all those sizes, and you don't want goofy sizes and stuff in there. And the other thing too is when you come up here, you want to be really deliberate. Come straight up, straight over, straight down, straight over, straight up, as opposed to a kind of flowing kind of motion. Your pad spin looked good. Your pressure looked good. Your pad flatness looked good. Another thing that happens is usually as people are going out, usually as people are reaching out a little bit further, they get locked in here.
Okay.
And as a result, when you go out, it wheelies on you.
Okay.
You have to kind of keep this loose back here. So as you go a little further, this arm is going to be up a little bit to keep that pad flat. Likewise, you don't want to be locked in here because what's going to happen is it's going to raise up in the back. So you did a really good job of keeping that flat. I would say based off of just your first time, we're at a 2 video series. We're not at a 12 video
we like
series.
that. We like that. All right.
Yeah, so that was good. How did it feel?
It felt good. It was. It kind of does want to dance around a little bit, and I think that's going to be a muscle memory thing.
Yeah.
Like as you get a little angle here, it might want to pull, because it's spinning.
Yeah.
So it did kind of want to float around a lot, and that made it hard to do a perfect grid, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, you'll get used to that really quick. Now, if you were using a forced rotation machine, this is a dual action.
What does that mean?
So what that is this. It spins around and it goes back and forth.
Okay.
But it's not gear driven to go around. You can stop that rotation.
Okay.
You can't stop the back and forth, but you can stop the rotation. If you go to a forced rotation machine, it's gear driven to go around in a circle and the oscillation back and forth.
It's locked. There's no change in the pattern.
I mean, it wants to steer you. It's a really weird feeling.
So this is kind of a more forgiving machine then?
Absolutely more forgiving. And then the other is the rotary. All it does is spin around.
It's real.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the old Steve Martin movie, The Jerk.
Oh, yeah.
He hates these cans!
Yeah, where he takes his rotary, he puts it down on it, and that's what a rotary is like if you haven't used it before. So this is the most forgiving.
Okay.
But people make the mistake and thinking, well, then that's just for beginners or whatever.
Yep.
This is what we use in here every single day.
Every day.
Very,
it's a
very
workhorse.
It's very capable once you learn the techniques, particularly as you get into some of this curvature, because people will struggle with that. But I think that looks really good. I think the next thing from here, because you did pretty well on it, we'll go in and we'll talk about what we want to tape up, because you want to make sure that you protect all these rubber trims and things, because you can damage them, you can stain them with the machine. We just got a brand new 992.2 GT3 that came in, and you can tell, whether it was at the dealership or wherever else, they didn't tape things up, and there's some really nice plastic pieces on the back engine cover, and they're separated in 2 sides. Both sides, you can tell where the buffer hit them, and that can get expensive really, really quickly. Yeah. And you want to make sure, even if it's a 137,000 mile car, you don't want to go in and damage the trim and have to go to replace stuff. So we go in and we tape that stuff up. We'll kind of go over how we do that, where we want to do that, and then we'll dive into the polishing.
Cool. All right. So far, like most of this, way less intimidating than I thought it was going to be, but I've got a good teacher. We'll jump into some taping next and show you what you need to do. Todd had a meeting and he tasked me with taping off the whole car, gave me a couple pointers, and said to practice on the hood, which I was a little nervous about, but I did my passes. We're gonna do a walk around, check my tape job, go over what you should and should not tape, couple tape tips, and then we're gonna get into some more polishing.
The good sign is that you didn't burn the paint off on the hood, so that looks good.
Good deal.
Now on the taping, I'll go through a couple things here. Why do we tape? We talked about that a little bit. We tape up so that we don't damage delicate surfaces. We tape up so that we don't stain any rubber or plastic trim. You know, you got light sticking out there. You don't want to hit something, catch it, and break it. Now tape, you want to make sure you're using the right tape. All tape isn't created equal. You know, back in the early days, there wasn't a lot of specialized tape. You know, I'd use blue painter's tape. It works, but the problem is the type of adhesive on it. You know, you get it towards these edges and it starts to lift up. Then that adhesive ends up getting all over the place.
Make a whole nother job cleaning that up.
Yeah, and a lot of times you scratch up the surface because you're trying to clean off the adhesive. Okay. So, you know, that's why we import this from Japan. It conforms really well. We have 3 different sizes.
Yeah, it was really nice to apply.
Yeah. And you can get it on esotericcarcare.com, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, we're going to go and tape everything up. The other lesson that I gave Jake, or I think Kurt kind of gave him too, was it's not an art project. We don't need to go in and make it super pretty. You can end up spending hours on taping, and it's just a waste of time. You don't really get the benefit out of it like you do in polishing. For instance, you know, on the headlight, sometimes you'll see people have the whole headlight taped up. Now, granted, we'd like to sell you a lot of extra tape, but you don't need to do that stuff. Just go in and hit the critical areas. Don't overthink it. When you're doing these areas right here, we want to get full coverage on it. You know, we don't want it up to here, so you leave a little bit of exposed, and we don't want to have it overlapping way over, because then that's going to be an area that doesn't get polished. So around the doors and all, and I can see, yeah, this one was convenient, just the way it's configured. You can go in and just wrap over it, close the door, or you can have the door open when you're polishing up here. That way you're not worried about it. You know, around the edges of the taillights, these taillights stick out a bit. All your badges, you want to have taped up. Once again, you might not damage those badges, but you might. You know,
tape's cheap, a badge is expensive.
A badge can be expensive. Or if you catch a badge that's untaped, like the corner of it, you can rip a pad.
Oh, okay.
Pads get expensive as well. So, you know, without me being here, I think you did a great job of taping it up. You know, you had the question about door handles, these being painted handles. And if we're only doing one step, I'm probably not worried about it, you know, because it's just going to be the foam pad that hits up against this, no big deal. If this was like black plastic or something, I'd tape that up. I don't want to stain it. Or if I was doing heavy compounding in there, when I'm compounding this area, I'd tape that up too. Once again, with a polishing pad, one-step kind of process, we can work around it and not worry about it too much. And if you're on an older car, what do I mean by older cars? You get in the 60s and 70s and sometimes even 80s, you have to be careful about the trim. Those things start, you know, falling apart. On an older car, I'm going to tape, then I'm going to work the area, then I'm going to gently remove the tape, then I'm going to go to the next area.
Just keeping the adhesive on there as little as possible? Or?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I've seen some cars where you have it taped up and you come back tomorrow to work on it and you go to remove it and you're delaminating something, or something is falling apart.
And then you're depressed.
Then you're depressed and it's going to cost you money when you do that. So, you know, you can be quick about it on something older, you know, something like this, even though it's got a lot of miles, I'm not worried about it. I can leave this taped up all weekend, come back Monday, finish up the car and remove it. I'm not going to have any kind of issues. The other thing too is you want to be careful that you don't go to tape it up like right after you wash the car. You know, even if you go in there with a blower and get everything out, there's going to be some water in different areas, and have fun trying to get the tape to stick. Once again, we'd like to sell you a whole lot more tape, but just a warning on that. But yeah, I think you did a great job.
Cool.
And the other thing I think with tape is, when in doubt, just tape it up.
Yeah.
If you have any kind of questions, any kind of doubt whatsoever, you know, tape it. Tape really doesn't cost that much. Tape it up. I would rather do that than, you know, like, oh shoot, if I would have just taken a couple of seconds to tape it up, I could have avoided that kind of problem. Sometimes when you have wiper blades, sometimes the wiper blades are really close to the edge here. You know, I'll go and just put some tape right where it's close, because I know that pad, because of the throw of the machine, it's going to come over a bit, especially if it's like a textured black, once again, something that's going to get stained.
Again, a few seconds.
Yeah,
worth
exactly. No big deal. The hood and everything looks good. I think the next thing that we're going to talk about is how we work with contours. And then, you know, you'll be ready to jump on the rest of the car.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. All right, Jake, next thing we want to talk about are contours. You know, I had you just work on the flat areas, and there was a reason. You know, you get into these areas where it kind of kicks up here, or right down in here, you got this low area and it kicks up. You can probably get it on camera right there. But if I just try to put my pad across, I got a little bridge going across this valley. The pad's not touching down there at all. I've got a big touch point here, big touch point here, that A, these are going to get hot. You can potentially burn those areas. B, you're not going to get any correction in here whatsoever. And this is going to cause the pad to stop rotating. Some people call that pad stall. Pad stall is a technique problem. Pad stall is not a machine problem. You have to learn how to handle these kind of contours to be able to get it. So what I'm going to do here, if I've got this big, you know, concave area right here, and I'm figuring out, well, I can't just go across it this way. How am I going to do it? Well, I want to break this up and think of this as two flat areas. So what I do instead is I can take my pad, when the machine's on it, I can bring it right up to the point where I can feel it wants to start slowing down because it's hitting here. But I can keep that pad flat. I can keep good pressure all the way down through here. Then I'm going to do the same with this surface. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit it from this angle. I have all my pressure right here. The pad is flat against the surface, and I'm going to be able to get good constant pressure and a lot of correction, and the pad will continue spinning the whole way. Now here's another important tip. This lowest area, that's typically where you're going to have your deepest scratches, and it's going to be the area that is the most difficult to get to. But when I'm down here flat on this surface, and I come up here, I'm flat on this surface, those two areas in that lowest area overlaps. So you're doubling up your polishing action in that lowest area, which obviously increases your chance of getting all the correction. Sound good?
Yeah, let's see it. I liked it with the pad because it made it very easy to see that. Now we can see it with the machine.
Yep, okay. Let's do this real time. Kind of show you how I do it. And this takes a little bit of practice, particularly when you're working up in this area, because you have to get the pad just right, otherwise it's going to stop spinning. And I'll show you how that works. Spread my polish around. See, I can keep it nice and flat. I can keep good pressure on there and get good correction. Now when I come up here, I can keep it flat against it. The rotation has slowed, but it's still rotating. And if you want to, you can even kind of come back and forth like this. Same thing down here. You're taking it up to the point where you can just feel it wants to stop spinning. If I try to go like this, it's going to stop. As soon as I back it down, it continues to spin.
And what does it look like when it quits spinning? Kind of stop.
Okay. And one thing that you can do, you know, you can take your backing plate here and you can take a magic marker and draw a line. That way you get a visual, whether it's spinning or whether it stopped. Because somebody that's new and starting off, they might have a hard time really understanding it. But you put that black mark on there, it gives you a good visual representation. You know, and the only other thing that we want to talk about, we're talking about taping, this panel sticks up higher than this panel. So when I'm down in here, I'm putting a little bit extra pressure on this one, which I really don't want to. With a one step, it's not too bad. If this is a compounding, I definitely want to either tape up this edge when I'm working here, or I want to pop the hood. That way I don't have to worry about it. You know, a lot of people have burnt edges, not the area they're working on, but it's the
They're not
adjacent,
even paying attention to that.
It's the adjacent panel. I remember one of my first cars doing polishing on, I did the exact same thing to my own car, you know, right up in this area.
Oh.
I was polishing here, and I got a little bit too heavy on this side, burning an edge. At least it was my own car that, that I did that. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
You ready to try this
Yes.
yourself?
All right, let's see what happens.
All right, good.
Okay, you think I should start up top or on the lower side?
This is going to be a little bit easier. I would do this one first.
Okay, and so you started right in here. And you brought it up to somewhere in here.
Yep.
And you went all the way down, and then you kind of do your back and
Yeah, I
forth?
mean, you know, do yourself 12, 18 inch area that you're doing. Yep.
And you were keeping it maybe an inch from the back, and then you came out here, and then kind of...
Yep. And you can see your stop spinning now.
I see it. I gotcha.
So you constantly have to adjust
Yes.
there to get your spin. You have to adjust your pressure. You know, your tilt, your side to side, all of that comes into play. So like right there, you're not spinning at all.
Oh, man.
And it's just a little bit of an adjustment. If you ever sense that it stops spinning,
I'm trying to find it right now. It's
stop
not.
and make it a little. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. So we want that oscillation.
Yep.
I'll come back to this side, I think.
Yep. Keep it flat.
Okay, I'm only thinking about this way on the contour and not thinking about the rest of the hood. If I come back and do this again, that's definitely tough because now I'm thinking of like two axes at once.
Yep.
And then I come back over here. See, it's not.
Find that spot. There you go.
Okay.
And you'll constantly have to adjust that as you move up. So, you know, you can. It stayed spinning the whole time there, which is fantastic. But it's a constant micro adjustment.
Oh yeah, it doesn't take much at all. That's very surprising. And I think I have one more out here. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, and the count doesn't matter as much. You know, you're not necessarily going for a perfect, you know, 2 times left, right, 2 times up, down. You know, you're just thinking about the amount of time that you're there and the movement. You know, anytime you're working around, you know, especially, you know, heavy contrast edges like this, you want to have that internal clock going off.
Yep.
Knowing I don't want to spend too much time because that's going to be a hot point, and when you overheat it, that's when you run the risk of burning an edge. You know, when you were coming down here, you know, you were up here and you were coming down further, and what was happening is it was lifting this way.
Yep.
And all your pressure was going to the back.
I was too worried about this angle to even think about.
Yep. And then that's when it stopped. So as you're going down, you either need to move your, you know, just kind of shift yourself back and forth and keep it right in front of you.
Somehow the wheel needs to be parallel with the body.
Yeah. You know, so you're either going down here further and kind of twisting it as you go, or you're just kind of rocking your body back and forth and keeping it right in between your shoulders. It's like we talked about earlier, you know, when you go out a little bit further, people get locked in and it has a tendency to wheelie up.
Okay.
Same thing when you're going side to side. You want to try to keep that in between your shoulders as much as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have to do a lot of side to side movements on it.
Got it. All right, well, maybe I'll try to spot a little higher up.
Okay. Here's another thing you can do. If you know I just have to work this area here, I can just put a little bit of product right on there, then smear it in, and then work it.
Okay.
Because here's what happens. If you're working a little area and you put the 3 drops on there, you may get 2 of the 3, and then the other one just kind of falls down this way. But if I put it right on that surface, I know exactly where it's at, and I can work it accordingly.
This feels so wrong. After all the stuff we've talked about, don't touch the paint and stuff in there and just scrubbing it. It's hilarious. Trying to find it.
Yep, you're pretty good there.
There we go. It doesn't take much at all. That is so surprising.
See, and you can tell when it wasn't spinning, because as soon as it starts spinning again,
it's way different.
It's a different feel. It's a different sound that it makes. So eventually you'll get to the point where you don't have to see it. You can you can tell both by the feel from your hands and the sound of the machine on whether or not it's flat. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good.
Okay.
You know, the only thing here is you left yourself a tiny little corner.
Okay.
You know, so as you're looking at it, visualizing it, you want to make sure, you know, you're keeping spatial awareness of where you are, how big of an area. Likewise, you wouldn't want to, you know, work this area and just leave.
You kind of want to blend sections.
Yeah, you want to put that puzzle.
Is it kind of like the flake? You know, if you touch up flake, it's not going to spray the same way. You kind of want everything to be worked and blended into a larger area.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know, you just want to stay efficient.
Okay.
And anytime you leave yourself tiny little patches there, you lose that efficiency.
So for here with this tiny spot that I forgot, would you put a dot on there, or you just kind of?
I just put a little drop of product on there and go and work it. Now I know how to attack that. I'm not going to tell you. I want to watch to see how you do it.
All right. I think I have an idea, but we'll see.
Okay, let's see.
I am typically pretty confident. Doesn't mean it's right, but all right. So I think
I like
kind
confidence.
of start in here, kind of, and work my way over. Trying to find my, there we go, a little bit of both action.
Right now you're not spinning.
Oh, yep. How am I? There it is. I'm not spinning again.
Right. One of the things that you were doing there, if I may, is like as you were coming back, you were pulling it up like this.
Okay.
And every time you pull it up like this, it stopped spinning because all your pressure went to the front. You know, you need to move it back and forth more as opposed to doing this.
Okay.
And the other thing,
let me bring this.
yeah, grab the camera. You know, as you're left with this little area right here, I don't necessarily, you know, you were kind of coming at it like this. I want to take that pad and I want to point it towards that. Look at this as like, this is like an arrow right here, right? It's going this way. And it's telling you to attack it in that direction. I want to lead with this part of the pad as I go up here to this little edge, because if I'm off a little bit, I'm not doing anything with this down here. So I want to hit this in the direction of that arrow's pointing. You know, kind of like this. And I'm just putting my pressure up here as I work that area. Because right now, I'm not worried about anything down here.
Okay,
I'm only worried about this area. So I can feel the pressure right here towards the tip of that arrow. And I can even kind of scrub it back and forth as I'm doing it. But that way I'm getting that whole place. I'm not worried about all this. I already finished that area. So you see a corner like this. Think of it as an arrow. And that arrow is telling you to direct your pressure in the direction. So right up in here is all I want to work.
Got it.
You were close, but a little bit off at the same time. You know, I think that that looked good. And you're going to run into that every single panel.
Yeah, every panel's not square.
Every panel that you have, you're going to have little corners. You know, you look at the doors, you think it's a big flat area, but you look at it from the side, and a lot of times they'll go like this between here and here. And you got to figure out how to work those contours. Because if I just try to go straight up and down, I'm going to be missing out here, and I'm going to be missing out down here. You want to get that pad conforming into those lower areas any way that you're working. If it's easy, everybody be doing it, right?
Yeah.
So you got to learn right and you got to practice right to get it right. So speaking of our little arrows, I have a couple of great places right here. See this corner tip? That's the tip of my arrow pointing that way. No different than right here. So I want to go in here and I want to tilt my pad up this way to go towards that tip. So I would once again, I'm not worried about any of this area around it right now. I'm just focusing on that tip of that arrowhead right there. Just biasing my weight towards it, and I'm only focusing on this part of the pad, the pressure right up in that area. No different if I did it down here. That arrow's pointing this way. I'm going to tip that pad up just so I can get my pressure right down on it.
Got it. All right, Todd, you turned me loose for a few hours.
Yep.
I cut my teeth on the hood, the fenders, and the roof, the easiest panels.
Yeah.
And it was not as scary as I thought it'd be.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you noticed, I kind of walked away from you. I didn't abandon you. You know, here's the thing. All those people that are on the other side watching, they're not going to have the benefit of me watching over the shoulder.
Yep.
And wanted you to be able to prove you build up confidence quickly. It's not as hard as you maybe initially thought it was going to be. And then going back and look at the work afterwards, it looked like, you know, you did a really good job at it. So that's fantastic.
One thing that was great is Todd only gave me, I don't know, 10 minutes of instruction.
Yeah.
We've got good materials. We've got good tools. We've got good technique. So quick little overview. Todd's sitting there talking to me, and the pad's just screaming away on the hood, and he doesn't seem super concerned like I am. And I start to, the fears kind of boil down, and you're like, okay, this isn't as crazy as I think it's going to be. It was actually pretty easy. Watching the time lapse and stuff, I'd see that I'd miss, you know, one of my patterns, or maybe not overlap a spot or whatever. And you look at it afterwards, and you can obviously see differences, and we'll go over some of that in a minute.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, it's not this rigid, and I can feel my arms. I'm not getting arm pump like I've been riding my dirt bike all day. You know, just you start to relax, and at the end, now I'm starting to feel the finesse of not stalling the pad. There's all these things, the audio that you pick up on of like what's the machine doing. All of it's way more relaxed and way less scary than when you're white knuckling it at first.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first couple of sections that you did, you know, everybody's going to be a little bit stiff when they're working on it. But as you kind of start to quickly learn, you get a little bit of muscle memory going on. You know, you're also not thinking about all of the process, because when we first broke down all the techniques, there's a bunch of different things you need to think of all at once.
Yep.
And you're like, holy crap, how am I going to focus on all this stuff? As you start going, it just becomes a natural feeling.
Yes.
It's no longer, you know, you're trying to check all these boxes as you're doing it. And I stood up there for a while watching you work, you know, quietly observing and taking some pictures. And I wasn't seeing anything different than one of the guys that have been doing it for a long time. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that's a big key when people jump into it, is you can quickly get your comfort leveled up. And with you, you know, I'm going to ask you the question when you get down to the very end. Okay, what was the last panel like compared to the first panel?
Oh yeah.
And that confidence level should shoot way up really quickly.
I instantly feel like I could maybe go do this on another car, you know, and not feel like I'm going to destroy a car, like my wife's car or something like that, and feel like, okay, I could do something and bring up the quality of the paint.
Well, good that you said that, because I think we're a little bit understaffed this week and a little bit more work than we have.
I didn't realize I'm actually training for a new position, so. Well, let's walk around this car. There are a few things I need to work on and that I need to see. And then we also need to cover a 5-inch LHR15 is what I'm using right now.
Yeah, and we're going to go to 3-inch.
Yes, the 5-inch doesn't fit everywhere. We have some gaps between windows and door handles and things that we need to go over with the 3-inch. So we'll jump into some of that, and then he'll get me set up, and I'll finish the rest of this car.
Now, part of the process, you know, once Jake's going through here learning, when you finish a panel, you want to go back in and you want to inspect it to see if you missed an area. Sometimes where two areas overlap, it didn't overlap enough, and you got what I'd call a cluster of swirls that are left over. And that's what I found here, particularly on the first panel that Jake worked on. And I showed him, you know, it's going to be hard to pick up on camera, especially with metallic paint. But, you know, there's some swirls and scratches that are left over. And I went back, marked it with a piece of tape. And normally that's going to be your process. Work on the panel, inspect it. If there's something that looks like you just missed or stands out compared to everything else, you'll go back and work that.
There's no reason you can't go back and do that. You're not hurting anything. It's not the whole hood again.
Right. Okay. Exactly. And, you know, we're not going for perfection on this one, but that little area kind of stood out relative to the rest of it. You know, we'll put a couple of drops of product on it, work, you know, a small section to rework it, move on to the next panel. Well, there's another thing that wanted to share. You know, everybody at home, you want to be able to visualize the kind of difference that you can get with just a one-step process. You know, granted, that multi-stage we talked about is going to get you more, but right now we're talking more from a learning perspective. You know, take a look at this mirror here.
That's two different colors.
And granted, on this side, it's not perfect yet, but it's black by comparison. You can do this with just a one-step process. And look over here. This is even bigger difference when you look at, let me make sure we're catching it. Yep. You know, this is what the B-pillar looked like before. Up here is after a one-step process. And that is the difference between black and gray. And these are going to get in bad shape because Jake, over the years, he's been grabbing this is how he's been shutting the door.
Caveman, greasy.
He's been holding it like that. And over time, that scratches all that up. You need to go in and polish it, get it looking good again. But just a yellow Rupes pad, SONEX perfect finish, one-step process. We're able to make that much of a difference. And you're going to be able to make that much difference on your car by just following the steps that we did here.
Yes, and that's super encouraging because it didn't take much to do this.
No.
And again, we have even without the light, that's a night and day difference. And everything's relative.
Yeah.
So if this was, you know, with your Mercedes back there, you know, it's still going to look scratched up, but that is gray and black.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and B-pillars, that's one of those areas that a lot of people neglect or detailers might not go over. But when you see the difference, like, you know, if you were a customer coming in, and if I didn't point this out, you would notice there's something different. It's all about the contrast. So for instance, if you had a red car and all of a sudden you've got these black pieces that are super shiny now, that contrast is what's going to draw your eye to it.
Absolutely.
And so by polishing this, polishing your mirrors, you know, even on some cars, the tail lights are you know, the right kind of shape. You can polish them and make them super red again. And that red against the black or whatever kind of finish, that contrast you get, it's just going to make the presentation that much better on the car.
So due to just the basic geometry of the car, there are going to be some places where a 5-inch pad simply can't fit between. So Todd's solution for that is we use a smaller polisher, a 3-inch pad. What are those spaces?
You're going to have areas of the car that sometimes you can get a 5-inch in, but it's not going to give you the best results on it. So having both a 3-inch and a 5-inch machine is really, really important. Some of those areas, you know, for instance, your mirrors, 3-inch. You know, all of your A pillar down through here, 3-inch. Your B pillars. Now on this car, a lot of times you'll find some cars where it's easier to get up in here with a 3 because this will be a really small area. I'm going to want Jake to go through. This is just kind of a flat ridge down through here. We use 3-inch for this. And this is also a really good visual to show you how many pads you go through. This is, you know, after a few days of work here in the shop. But back here in the back, you know, when you get around bumpers and headlights and tail lights, you know, small little areas like this, that's 3-inch. All down through here, that's 3-inch. If you wanted to do the tail lights, that's 3-inch. You know, anywhere that's really too big for a 5-inch or maybe it's just a little bit cumbersome in that area, just knock it out with a 3-inch. You know, your cut and your finish is going to be a lot better by using the right tool for that specific area. Once again, I can do these A-pillars with a 5-inch. My cut and finish isn't going to be as good as what it would be for the 3-inch. So I think now what I want to do is just kind of show you how you do a 3-inch process just on a small little area. Okay, our 3-inch machine here, this is the Rupes 75. Been using these for a long time. Very, very effective. And it's just something that you need to have in your arsenal. You can see right here, the 3-inch is going to fit this a lot better. You know, I don't have a solid curvature. This is kind of a flat area, and then a flat area. Having the small machine allows me to get in there. And another thing that I wanted to show, you know, this is after you get a little bit more comfortable. But what I would do is I would pre-drop the product right on this surface all the way up through there, one about every 12 inches or so. That way I don't have to stop and, you know, I put the machine down, grab the polish, put some more on. And if I put it directly on the pad, I get up in here, it may be up here and it just slops all over the place. So this makes it much, much easier.
And now does that machine have the same action and everything as the larger 5-inch?
Yeah.
Just literally the same, but smaller.
Same, but smaller. Exactly. Okay. So first I'm just going to rub this in a little bit just so I don't fling it everywhere. And since I have like 3 separate areas, I'm going to hit this as a flat area. I'm going to come down here in the middle, hit this as a flat area. And then down here at the bottom, hit this separately as a flat area. And then, you know, we were talking about that more advanced way of going quicker. I'm going to bring the camera over here. I'll show you how I hit this next area. I'm just going to flip off the power real quick, pick up that polish and flip it back on. That just saves you a ton of time when you're doing it. You got to be careful when you do it, because if you don't have the machine completely turned off when you go to pick up that polish, you're going to fling it everywhere. And I would continue that down the whole way. It's going to save you a ton of time. But as I tell everybody, worry about getting good first, then speed will come. If you're trying to be super efficient, super fast while you're learning how to polish paint, you're going to hold yourself back. Good first, then get fast. But as you start getting a little bit better, that's one of those tricks, just kind of preloading that section you're going to be working on with your polish directly on the panel. And it's really simple. Use that same kind of process everywhere that's too big for the 5-inch, and you're going to find your cut and finish is going to be fantastic.
One other thing you talked about for cut and finish quality is the number of pads we're using.
Yes.
We looked at this basket, but this is actually what I've used so far for just the hood, the front fenders, and the roof. And we just posted a video we can link up somewhere in the corner about using the correct amount and quality of pad and wipe off towels as well.
Yeah. You know, and that video in particular talked about using a lot of pads and using fresh pads. That's one of the biggest mistakes people starting off do. You know, if you see somebody placing an order for their very first polisher, they order a polisher, a pad, and some polish and some towels. Well, your pad quickly gets loaded up. Let me grab one of these down here. It quickly gets loaded up with polish. And some may think all they got to do is brush it off and they can go continue. Well, the other thing that happens is these start to lose their density as they get loaded up with polish. And when you can't apply the right amount of pressure to it, your cut and your finish drops off. So you want to go through plenty of pads. You know, like this up here, this is 2 or 3 pads on the hood, 1 to 2 pad, or on the roof, 1 to 2 pads on the hood. And each of these, this door is a pad, this door is a pad, that fender is a pad. Can you do it with one? Sure. How's the product going to look? It's not going to look so good. For instance, we'll put up a quick little clip of that brand new black car that came in, and somebody at the dealership polished it. And not only did they use the wrong combination of pads and polish, but it looks like they used the same pad throughout the whole one. The finish was just hazy as can be. And then the 50-50 on there, you know, that's from doing a quick, proper polish with a fresh pad, the kind of difference that you can get out of the two. So don't underestimate the amount of pads. You're going to go through a lot of them. On a car like this, I'm probably going to go through a dozen of the big pads and probably 6 to 12 of the small pads.
And these aren't extremely expensive either, so it's a small investment for a much better outcome.
Yeah, and you know, these aren't throwaways. You know, you go in and you wash them, you let them air dry. That's the only way they're ready for the next one. You can't just go in and do a quick wash and, you know, spin it out to try to fling out the moisture, and all of a sudden it's good to go. It needs to go through a complete wash and drying cycle manually, not putting in the dryer. And then for the next car that you do, it's going to be ready to go.
All right, I'm going to jump on this 3-inch and see what we can do. Okay, I want to take a quick minute to point something out. Todd had done the 50-50 here. He had polished the top half and left the bottom half undone. So I just went through and polished that same B-pillar. And when I was done, although it was much less noticeable, I could still see a faint line of where I had polished and then where he had polished. His was so much clearer. Mine still had a lot of scratches. So I can look at that and go, okay, I'm probably not pressing hard enough, or maybe I'm traveling too fast. And I go back, maybe with a little bit more drive, you know, that I can't do it as good as someone who's been doing it their entire career. But passing over it again slower and with a little more pressure, now that line isn't visible and I get the feedback knowing that I'm doing it correctly now. All right, so I'm polishing on the car. Todd just walks by me with some parts from another car, and it has to do with tape and why we do it.
Brand new Porsche GT3, all of the plastic trim around it. It looks like the dealer went in and tried to polish the car for the customer. And you can see all the staining, and this is everywhere around the car. Well, I'm able to get rid of the white staining, but what happens is that abrasion against it's almost polishing out this plastic finish. So if I get this out, there's a good chance you're still going to be able to see the outline of it, because it's not going to be as matte finished as the rest of it. So with that, you're either in the business of having something refinished, or in this case, the customer's going to have to go back to the dealership to get it all replaced. But this is why you want to take the time and tape things up, because even just a quick little hit with your polishing pad, you can do a lot of damage. It's not just a matter of trying to get the polish off of it. It's how you change up the plastic. So use plenty of tape. Tape more, especially on plastics. Tape more than you would normally think that you need to, because one little hit against this could be a really expensive mistake.
Okay, it's been a couple hours. I'm getting more comfortable with these tools. It's a lot easier to handle. It feels a lot more natural than it did at first. I'm not like gripping the thing to death. The mixture between the 3-inch and the 5-inch is very interesting. That one seems like it's a lot easier. This one, since you don't have as much surface area and as much mass of a spinning rotation, it's a lot easier to stall out. Really cool to get into these cars and see what needs to happen, where you use a 3-inch, where you use a 5-inch, the different dynamics of each tool. I know I'm going really slow, but it's been great learning this. I'm on the home stretch now, on the front bumper, little cramped in here. We got a packed studio today. So we're gonna finish this up, and then we'll get you some looks at what this looks like after a full stage 1 paint correction, albeit a rookie job here. My first car ever. I'm really excited to have been able to learn this on my own car. All right, I made it through the home stretch. Todd has come back and he's taking a look at it.
Call this the light of truth. You look at the vehicle and see what all was done. I mean, I got to be honest, not saying this just because Jake's got the camera up in front of my face, but really impressed with the work that he did. You know, and the reason why we're doing this is to show everybody out there it's not that difficult. It's actually kind of fun when you learn it and you can sit back afterwards and look at it and say, I did that. And it makes you want to do it more, and it makes you want to learn more. I talked before about following the rabbit down the hole. This is a great way to follow a rabbit down the hole as far as detailing. I did the same thing, and it turned into esoteric. So you never know what turned into for you. But, Jake, I want to get you on the camera, kind of talk about your thoughts and impressions on, the entire process from start to finish.
I've really enjoyed this process. It's not nearly as intimidating as I would have guessed. And I want to drive that home because I've been a master tech and I've worked on cars and I've built cars and repaired cars and done really big things with cars mechanically. Paint, I've always been afraid of. And I would equate it to, we were just talking off camera, Todd was saying, you don't realize how bad your car is until you start putting a little work into the paint. And I would equate it to once I got glasses.
Yeah.
I was getting headaches.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. And I go to the eye doctor and they put these lenses in front of you. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't see. So when you see one of those 50-50s, you're like, my gosh, my mirror caps and my B-pillars are gray, and now they're a nice gloss black. And that pride that you would have, like when I would do a big repair on a car, and you've got the engine out and back in, something like that, and then at the end, you're like, I fixed that. Yeah. I did that.
Well, there's a big difference between doing that because you notice the brakes or the clutch or whatever else. When you do the paint, everybody notices. Everybody knows. And you can say, yeah, I did that.
Yep. Well, it goes to show when you have a little bit of knowledge or a lot of knowledge and you have the right tools and the right products, anyone, including myself, can do this and it can be done correctly and you can have something that you can have a lot of pride in. And if you're interested in getting involved in any of this, we have literally everything we've used in this video, plus a whole bunch more tools And we have other resources for teaching. And if you want to go down the rabbit hole, but you can't make it to here,
Yep.
you can do it online.
You can go to esotericdetailedu.com. We've got a full suite of online training as it relates to paint correction and ceramic coating. We've got all of the free assets and stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
Obviously, the paid training, we go way deeper into details. Much deeper than I even went with you.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you left some on the table for me because that was about all I could handle for the first one. And if you want to do any of this yourself, you can get everything you've seen in this video plus a bunch more at esotericcarcare.com. We appreciate you watching the video. Thanks as always, and we'll see you in the next one. Record scratch as we just close this out. This is real life right here.
Yeah. You moved the tape to the other side, but then you never polished out this back beat roller.
gosh.
So you got the front one's done. You got to get the back one now. I'm gonna go around. I'm gonna look for more.
All right, I'm not done yet, but we'll wrap it up here soon.